So here's the plan. I've identified the largest island in the Algarve. All right, let me just jump in here quickly and show you the Rio Formosa barrier islands. So if we're starting on the westernmost edge, there's 5 of them, okay? And we're not including the peninsulas. So this is actually the Breta Island, also known as Ilha Deserta. And then just a little over is Culatra, which a lot of people refer to as Ilha de Ferrol, and includes Ferrol, Hangares, and Culatra, the settlements on those islands. But there are no cars on any of these things. And then just a little bit further over is Armona, which is probably the closest to Olhão, which you just see in the background there. And then we're heading across to Tavira because it's going past Fuseta. Now, Ilha de Tavira is the biggest of them all, and that measures 11 kilometers across. And then further over, a little more to the east, is the 5th island, Casella. Okay, so this is on the Cabanas to the Tavira. You can reach it from Cabanas to Tavira, and it recently opened up at Praia da Fábrica over there. So there you go. That is basically an overview of the 5 major islands in the Rio Formosa. All right, so Tavira Island is the largest of all of these islands. It sort of measures about 11 kilometers across, which makes it a 25 or 24 kilometer round trip completely from where I would start to where I would go back. And there's actually, because I'm going alone, there's a little bit of anxiety here. And I'm like thinking, let's be honest, anything can happen. It gets quite remote out there. And the major problem I had was that I had a few time limits imposed on myself. I had to go and pick up my daughter at 4 p.m., which is, I couldn't just stop and wait for the wind if it was too tired and if it was too tiring, and just stop and relax and wait for it to dissipate. And also 6:30 a.m. was high tide. And I'll explain this in a bit. But basically, I have to get to the high tide mark within an hour of launching. So that's like a really fast first quarter, doing 5Ks in an hour. So I just had to really, really paddle, but I'll be going with the tide, which will be exciting. So the tide and the wind was going to come up a little bit later, but hopefully the wind was going to switch to from the west, so it would push me all the way back home. So I'd actually be using the wind. So it looked on paper like amazing plan, but these things never work out. And all these other odd things creep into your head, like what if I'm in the middle of nowhere and my paddle breaks, or I don't know, something can happen, or I hurt myself or something, then it's just going to mess up the plan. It's not life-threatening, but it just does create a little bit of anxiety. So I got on the water, but let me first explain how this works with the tide. Okay. So as you can imagine, the tide flows into the 2 inlets either side of Tavira Island, creating a strong current that flows inwards. Now with high tide being at 6:30 a.m., I needed to reach the watershed in the middle of the Rio Formosa, which is like halfway along between Tavira and Fuseta, and then I'd get pushed all the way up to the middle, and I'd get pushed down to the Fuseta opening after high tide. So I divided my mission up into 4 quarters. The first quarter from Tavira to past the Praia Barril bridge after Santa Luzia, and that'll be roughly between 5:30 and 7 a.m. The second quarter would go from past the Barril bridge to the Fuseta opening, which will be from 7 a.m. till about 9 a.m., and I'll be going with the tide hopefully, and the wind would not have picked up yet. And then the third quarter from Fuseta opening to Praia Barril past the Nude beach would be from more or less 9 to 10 or 10:30, but I needed to watch the wind as it was predicted to pick up at 9 o'clock and then drop off momentarily at 11 before switching to the west. And then the fourth quarter, the wind would push me all the way home along the home stretch. And I really was like not working out exactly what time this was. So it sounded like a great plan. Alright, so just about to set off, and hopefully we'll get there in high tide. Oh wow, on the water, this is absolutely gorgeous. Wind's behind me, and I'm going to go with the tide for an hour. Let's go. That's a great sign when you can see some ripples around the base of sticks in the river. It's like how to read water basically, so you can see that the tide is still flowing a lot, which I'm excited about. So racing on to 6:30 and high tide. Alright, so I just arrived in Santa Luzia. I've got to head on to this next bridge at Praia Barril, where after that will be great. I think I'll be over the tide mission. And yeah, it's been going great. The tide's with me. But yeah, got to press on. And hopefully we can get a spot where we can take some drone footage. I'm just coming up on the bridge to Praia Barril, with Pedras del Rey over there on the right hand side and Santa Luzia behind me, and sunrise. Before we carry on, just a quick note about our company Algarve Addicts that we've built up over the last 3 years. If you are looking to move to the Algarve, we're here to help. We provide licensed scouting tours, real estate and rental services. So get in touch with the team on algarveaddicts.com. Thanks so much. Let's get on with the video. I remember coming here like on the 16th of June one year, and it was absolutely hardly anyone here. The rest of the Algarve was packed with people. And we could launch here quite easily and get onto the Rio Formosa and go out to the beaches, which is great. So it's a nice secret little launch spot that most of the locals only know about. Yeah, I'm enjoying this trip rapidly. It's really amazing. It's lovely. It's just I'm so glad we've made the tide, but it's still pushing me out, which is fantastic. Excellent. Well, I'm halfway there and it's only almost, not even 8 o'clock, it's just 10 to 8. So hopefully I will be able to make it back on time. But the tides have been with me. It's been hardly any wind. It's been fantastic. So it's an easy paddle on the Rio Formosa. Get out into the ocean now. It's a little bit more tricky because it's choppy. Won't be able to take as much footage. But hey, we'll see. Have to stop and see how it goes because we've got lots of time. All right, I'll see you next time. Just going to go around the bend here. This is Fuseta on the right hand side, just round the bend and then carry on heading back all the way to Tavira. You can't actually see it that much in this image, but the wind has started to pick up and it's cross shore, so it's not too bad. But I was carrying on for kilometer after kilometer and it was getting really tiring. I thought, according to the forecast, it was going to drop a little bit before it was going to switch around to westerly. So I decided to wait for a bit. Seems I was like really ahead of time and just chill and check out the beach. This beach is called Homem Nu, which means naked man beach, and it's a nudist beach. It's an official naturist beach. So when in Rome, what the hell? Why not do as the Romans do? After sheltering on the beach for a bit and seeing that the wind is not actually going to calm down, I decided to push on and regained a little bit of energy, had a few bars and carried on past. And I pushed on for an hour and a half towards Praia Barril, paddling past the nudist beach. There were quite a few nudists out because it was early on a Thursday morning. So then I got to Praia Barril and it was fantastic. The wind was calming down a lot as predicted and it was absolutely idyllic. So I stopped there for some more energy and decided to just have a little bit of a relax and get the drone up and check things out. So I just stopped at Praia Barril for a little bit of a bite to eat. Possibly a swim in the ocean. So beautiful here. I'll talk more about Praia Barril in an upcoming video about Santa Luzia and surrounds, as it's a wonderful corner of the world. The wind had dropped almost completely, and as I pushed out off the beach and continued paddling east, now well rested, I realized that it was completely calm. Absolutely perfect conditions for paddling. I was just reveling in it, but however, as predicted, I suddenly felt a few gusts from the west, which grew and grew. And it was amazing. I remember it was exactly 10 to 11 a.m. And this is like a standard pattern for the Algarve. It sort of blows, the north wind blows all the way from the north to the south. And then about just before midday, it'll switch from and blow from the west. And so it pushed me all the way home. And soon there was a steady 10 knots propelling me towards Terra Estreita, which directly translated means narrow earth, which is the thinnest part of the Tavira island, and a beach concession has developed as a result, which is served by ferries from Santa Luzia and Tavira. I floated on down, thankful for the tailwind past Tavira, but it was starting to get choppy, pretty choppy, and I had to concentrate on paddling, as even though my drone was in a waterproof bag, I wasn't keen to find out how waterproof it really was. Happily, I paddled into the Tavira opening to Rio Formosa and pushed against the tide towards my launching spot. Right, I just entered the Tavira channel and it's 11:30, so it's way earlier than I thought I was going to be. But it's just a bit of a mission getting up here because the tide's against me, wind's against me. And I'm tired. I'm 25 kilometers. But it's great. It's good to, feels fantastic. What an accomplishment. I'd done it, and it was definitely doable. Should I do all the other islands, I wondered? Let's see. But next week, I'll explore Santa Luzia. So join me. I'd love to have you on board. Algarve Addicts.com